Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lockout, our Supercoach show that we bring you all our Supercoach news, our teams for the week, and we discuss all the big Supercoach trading options and stuff with you guys in the chat. Make sure, guys, you jump into the chat, give us all your questions as always. Brody, my brother, how your Supercoach team looking coming into this weekend? Before we obviously jump over and saw how you went last weekend, how are we looking this week? Because I know there's a lot going on with your Supercoach team right now.
Yeah, stressful. I've basically come up with a little 2-week period of what I want to be trading out over the next 2 weeks and trading in. So, and it's still not enough because the Lockie Galvin situation has fucked me. So I'm looking at 3 trades this week and 3 trades next week. Some players for players, worked out the sums. Yeah, it's funny how much a bad week will do to you and what you rethink about Supercoach. So stressful.
And it's crazy. It just shows how up and down, how crazy the NRL actually is when you play Supercoach, right? You have these moments of like Lockie Galvin's news just pops out of nowhere and you're just going like, where's this come from? You know, you have injury news that just pops out of nowhere. You know, we're going to be talking about a Dave Fafita injury and how much that impacted me as well coming to this weekend, looking to trade him in. Before we jump into also, you know, we'll talk about our trades a little bit later on, but with you doing your boosts this weekend, because I'm probably going to be in the same boat, how many boosts have you got left right now? And what do you think about your boosts at the moment? Do you use them early on now? Are you keeping them one late for later on? Like, where are you at with your boosts right now?
I think I've only used the 2. So I think I've still got 3. Is it 5 you get?
Yep.
Off the top of my head. So I'm probably going to use 1, maybe 2 more, depending on injuries the next week. And then I'm going to at least save 1, if not 2 for late season. But other than that, I'm all about trying to get my team right now. Use the origin period to tighten up where you get that extra trade anyway. And then ride it out and only really trade on injuries or poor form.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And like, there's a lot of that going around at the moment, and it's a lot of trying to figure out your best options coming into this weekend of footy as well. But shout out to the chat as well. Toilet Spectre, what's happening? Chris Jean, what's going on? And Tans, good to see you jumping into the chat as well. Tans is absolutely loving her season this season. You know, she's had some up and down moments as well, but she's loving the show. She's loving Supercoach, and I think we've got a future Supercoach player on our hands with Tans later in the future. So
get out while you can.
Get out while you can. She understands the stress of Supercoach already. I see her in the WhatsApp chat all the time going, I'm trading this guy in. I'm done with him. I'm moving on to this bloke. And then that bloke goes shit.
I feel ya. It's fucking, it's a crime. It's a crime how shit some of the players play when you get them in.
Oh, it's an absolute disgrace. But while saying that, bro, let's go touch on what the week that was with our squads last weekend. So I'll just chuck it up here, trying to move
Wolfie,
over.
Billy Smith is not playing this week due to 1 week suspension. Otherwise, I like those 3 trades. But Walshy's starting to fire as well, so maybe not Walshy out.
Have you, because I'm pretty sure we were talking about with you, did you go early on Billy Smith like we kind of discussed, or we're going to hold that till a little bit later? Or
we'll go through it when we go through my trades. But
yeah,
I'm tossing up. So right now I haven't. I'm going to wait the week, but yeah.
100%. All right. We're going to move this over so people can see our scores of the weekend. So
same chance.
So I scored over the weekend 1,227. Brody scored over here. Balake's squad scored 1,072, brother. Before I don't want to really go through one by one like I kind of be going every week, but I want to touch on who was your big key scorers of the weekend? Who was your bigger flops over the weekend? And what are you more disappointed on? What are you happy about with your squad over the weekend? 1,000 with definitely a captain misfire that I had to deal with as well.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, what's your thoughts on your squad?
Yeah, I don't know, man. My CT dubs are just underperforming and like nobody was like really, really bad. Like there's no like 30s other than Nico, which is my concern. But it's just a lot of mediocre scores. There's like I didn't have anybody over 100. I don't even think I had anybody over 90. And then, you know, there's just trickles of 80s, some 60s, some 50s, some 40s. Like it's all just very mediocre. And then as soon as you misfire on a captain, you're screwed. I was lazy with trying to get Papenhuyzen in. I went with Walsh for a little short term over the couple of weeks, and he's been okay. Don't get me wrong. For the price he's at, but Yeah, yeah. I just I don't know. Maybe I held KP and the Knights have just really underperformed and shadowed him. So that's kind of screwed me. So but yeah, just a lot of mediocre. Like if you look at that and I had a good captaincy option, or if I had a Pappy and captain him, my score's looking a lot better already. But yeah, just I think I've been stuck too much trying to cash build and not ironing out some creases. But with that said, Osako played really well last week and then shit this week. And how are you supposed to pull that? Like, how are you supposed to pick that? Yeah, disappointed. Let's say that.
It's a weird little start to Supercoach this year because I've heard it from a lot of other content creators as well, and I definitely agree with it. I feel like the teams that we have at the moment on Supercoach form of like history, right? If you look at some of the guys that we have in our team already, you know, in years past, these guys would have been coming into our side maybe after the origin period. But I feel like I'm very happy with the way my squad looks. It's just they're not scoring as consistent as we probably hoped of what usually happens in past periods, right?
Mm.
Like I'm looking at like my side in general here. Like, you know, players like LOCKOUT, notable, decent Supercoach scorer. Harry Grant, notable Supercoach scorer that, you know, I started the season with. Cleary, Hines, you know, Walsh, Haas. Like, you name these, like, names off of the last couple of years. You're thinking that you're scoring 1,300 a week, like, consistently, right? And same with you. You've got all these gun players that you filled out all these big spots. Monsters, you know, Greg Marjus, Corey Horsburghs, Nico Hines, Walshy, Haas. It's like you're trying to iron out creases, but you're also trying to think of like, I've got my squad that I really like. You just need those guys to fire. And whether, you know, that just comes over a longer period of time, you know, the NRL's still trying to figure itself out. It feels like it's such a good year for Supercoach in the fact of we got our sides fairly early settled, but they're just not firing as much as what we really want them to.
Yeah, I think it's very lost this year. I think something's changed. I think, you know, halfbacks and 5/8s are struggling a lot more, like because they've changed the way that they look at try assists. So fullbacks are getting a lot of the try assist credit. And then they must have changed something on like kicking stats or kicking meters because, you know, you used to just like see Nico Hines and Cleary get 100 without doing a lot. And it was just really good control of the game and kicks downfield. That's kind of gone away this year, and it's really made it hard. Like your two big guns at halfback aren't firing. I've got Galvin out this week, and I don't have another 5/8 that I really am set on trading in. And then like your CT dubs, well, if the wingers aren't scoring tries, they're not doing too well. And centers, again, even though they're getting a pass for what is a try assist, they're not getting credited that try assist because it goes to the fullback. So yeah, it's a little bit all over the place. A lot of cash building, a lot of cheapies have fired, but it's good to see that nearly everybody's in the same boat. You've only got a fair few guys that have really pulled away from the pack and totaling up around that 8,000 already, but everyone else is still in that limbo of around that 7,000 already for the season. But yeah, that's what I think's going on. But I think you hit the nail on the head, brother.
I think, like, you know, it reminds me of Supercoach when we were in high school. I feel like, you know, a lot of these front row forwards are getting a lot of their more dominant points. Like, it's so much easier now to look at it as like, I could have put a captaincy. I've spoken to you about this before. It's like, you could have put a captaincy on Terrell May from the start of the season, and you would have been in a really good spot. Where in years past, you wouldn't even been looking at putting a captaincy on Payne Haas or you know, Terrell May. You're putting captains on your fullbacks, and you just be like, oh, your halfbacks and Nathan Cleary. It's set and forget. Like, those boys are going to get your numbers. But now it's becoming a game of like, do you go with the 80 plus per week as a consistent of like, I know I'm going to get 80 as a captain, or do you go with these guys like a Gutho that had the upside of 140s, but then he can bust out a 50 and really, you know, screw your week comparatively to other people? Yeah,
you're 100% right, brother. It's just it's gamble, isn't it? And it's tough to make that decision because you do want your captain to score over 100 each week, but you are gambling it on fullbacks and halfbacks as opposed to, Terrell May, who's getting 80s, Payne Haas, who's getting 80s with sometimes over. Back in the day, you're right. The only forward you would dare to slap a captaincy on was Paul Gallen, and that's it.
100%, bro, 100%. Moving over to our teams of the week, the top of the teams of the Down Unders League. So we got Liam continuing to be at the top of our competition there. Really, really good to see. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to do some moving around to see these squads here. It's not really figuring itself out. But anyway, Down Unders League, we got Liam. You know, last week. Actually, I'll go into last week's scores. But he's been on top of our comp for a little while now.
Yeah, he's
Liam.
dominating it. I just keep seeing him branch out in front. So at least it's nice to see you outscored him though this time.
Yeah, shout out to Liam. I got you in my
similar
eyesight,
players.
brother. Got you in my eyesight, brother. I'm coming for you. But sitting with Teddy, a really good little play that he has there. You know, Connor Watson. These are all your differential players that he has. Ruben Garrick, Thomas Kant, and Jesse Arthurs. But, you know, you're 100% right. There's a lot of players who are very similar in all these ones here. Pretty sure Liam, ranked-wise, he's pretty highly ranked in our overall Supercoach. So well done to him. Moving over, we got Rise and Waz as well, Kane. Shout out to Kane here. 1,094 over the weekend, but sitting second in our Down Unders League. We got, you know, differential players in Leatoa. He has Lockie Galvin as well, so he's going to have to deal with your headache coming to this weekend. So if you're in here, Kane, definitely it'd be good to listen to see where Brodie's thoughts are at with our Lockie Galvin coming into this weekend. And last of all, One-Eyed Warriors. I did find out too, brother. I don't know if I told you over the week. Jade is actually a man. I do apologize, Jade. I did not mean to say that. Obviously, you're a female, so we appreciate you, brother. But shout out to you, 1,100. Absolutely killing it. Christian Tuipulotu, obviously the hamstring injury is probably going to hurt you a lot.
Big trade.
Yeah, because he would have been a really good option that you have there. Eli Katoa as well, a really good play that you had there with 71 points over the weekend. Kalen Ponga, probably a guy that a lot of people want firing at the moment. But moving over while we can, bro, we'll move over to the players of the week, round number 6. We'll touch on a couple of these players here. Look at Xavier Coates at the top of the competition here for round number 6. 148 points. Absolutely murdered my Warriors over the weekend. Yeah, well deserved, bro. He definitely... This is the thing with Xavier. He can have moments like this, but then he can have like real soft moments as well. And that's the risk you do take with people like him.
That's bumped his average up because before this, he was averaging 40, I think it was, if that. So that's bumped his average up a lot.
He scored before last week. He got 25 against Manly, 36 against St. George, 39 against Penrith. That's what. So
averaging 44. So yeah, look, again, prime example of outside backs at this stage.
And prime example of just New Zealand, just what Melbourne Storm players love and play the New Zealand Warriors. Like, fuck, why do this to us? Why, Xavier? Why? Xavier. Sorry, guys. I want to be corrected there. Xavier. Moving over to Ryan Papenhuyzen as well, 136. You had a captaincy on him, you'd be absolutely laughing. Me and Brodie, of course, as we discussed before, went Clint Gutherson. And I think it was Brodie's decision anyway, so I'm blaming Brodie on that.
Look, it wouldn't have been much better if I went Ponga because he was my other option. So my 3 options were Cleary, Ponga, and Gutho. So I would have been screwed either way I went, brother. So I'll let you off the hook.
Shout out to you, Lockie, as well. Calling out Kalen Ponga was going to be the one to get bigger score. He ended up scoring a 29 or something over the weekend, or a 32. So
something shocking.
Dave Fafita, 128, getting back into the Dave Fafita form. We will talk about the injury to Dave Fafita as well, because that put a couple of my trades in a spin. Hamiso Tabuai Fido with 124 points. Add that with Jaxon Purdue with 121. Both these guys, very similar players to me. You know, obviously Jaxon Purdue is like the one that the Cowboys have kept. Speed burns, bro. And both these guys scoring very well over the weekend. Hudson Young just consistently being a gun this year. Look at his price getting up there to 728. Huge. 109 points. He's averaging right now 87 in a 3-round average, 78 overall in the season. Jake Averillo, 107. Joseph Tarpanay, 103. Dylan Egan, well done to him, 99. And also Valentine Holmes, 97 overall on the weekend with a big score against the Gold Coast Titans. And we'll touch on Valentine Holmes a little bit more coming up. Very, very consistent scorer this year. For some that obviously I expected that he was going to have a drop-off going to the Dragons, but well done to him.
Yeah, he's still chugging along strongly, bro.
All right, my brother. All right. Any players you want to touch on more so before we jump across?
Nah, just the chat. Do you think Iongi owners are in for a treat with Mitchell Moses being back? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people are high on this. I don't know how I feel if he will. I think there's more points in Parramatta now, but for me, it's probably more points coming for Dylan Brown than Mitch Moses. I think it frees up Dylan Brown to play a lot more exciting footy, more so than the controlled footy. But what do you think about that move?
That's actually a really good thought that I didn't really think of too much, because when I saw Mitchell Moses back in, I was like, oh, Zach Lomax completely missed the boat here. Like, Zach Lomax would have gone to an absolute new level with Mitch Moses on the outside of him. Ayongi definitely in positions, but the player that a lot of people are probably forgetting about, as you touched on before, a notable Supercoach gun from years past is Dylan Brown. Consistently been one of the best 5'8s in a competition to get. Mitchell Moses opens up his game quite a bit so he can become a runner, and runners equal good Supercoach points majority of the day.
100%.
So I think that, Dylan Brown could be a good guy to circle for you Lockie Galvin fans out there that have got him in. He could be a good option coming in. But maybe just see how Mitchell Moses and the Eels go this weekend, and then reassess coming into next weekend.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of the ones I'm going to be looking at there. So, and just the comment from Wolfie, if you wanted to pull that one up, brother, and go through that.
Bring it here. If money works next week, I'm thinking of getting Fermor and Brimson. Is that much with having Campbell and Tino? It's obviously talking about too many Titans, I'm guessing there.
I think so, yes. I wouldn't be going for a Bo Fermor when we've seen Fafita come back into form now. We're going to see him dominate that ball a lot more. I would be, well, my move, I don't want to throw it out there, but my move for a back rower would be next week looking into Dylan Lucas, Viliami Kikau, if they're both back from injury.
Yeah, my thoughts on this move overall, like Brimson has came into my eyesight a little bit more, talking with Brody about obviously Lockie Galvin and all those situations and who could really replace him. I did look at Brimson. He has been scoring fairly well for a guy that I thought, probably, wouldn't be too settled into that 6 jersey, just seeing him with my eyesight. But as Brody pointed out, I'm pretty sure he's had 3 tries over the last couple of weekends.
Yeah. 3 late tries, and that's the only thing really saving his score.
And what was those scores over there? But while I jump into that, I'll jump into that now.
Yeah.
So, like, we can kind of get an idea of where he's sitting, because I don't think they've been worldy scores either for the tries that he ended up scoring.
Nah, like 60s.
Yeah, we've got 73 against St. George, 58 against the Dolphins. I'm trying to remember, did he score against the Dolphins?
I couldn't tell you, brother.
And anyway, the Roosters game, I do remember him scoring in that game. He got a 63. If you want your number 6 scoring tries and stuff, usually you'd see them pumping over like that 70 mark. Very similar, like Cam Munster, if he scores, usually you're getting 70, 80s, more than likely.
Yeah. What can a newbie Supercoach expect from Jacob Kraz? We will talk about that very shortly. And Dylan Egan, I'm not, but I have other options over him at this stage. Not to say that he's going to score bad, but I've just got 4 better options. That's why I'll probably just leave him there to build cash for me.
Yeah, with Dylan Egan, it's kind of like, I think he'll base fairly well against Manly. It's just really dependent on like how big of a scoreline is Manly going to put on the Dragons this weekend at home. Like, is it going to be Manly of old, like just putting a ton of points on and Dragons maybe folding a little bit? Or do the Dragons have a really good game there and Dylan Egan being like, getting his full base up and stuff? So that's my only worry there is like strength of matchup. It's because of discussing this with my trade as well. Probably doesn't go that way with a Dylan Egan. But then again, base-wise, he does seem to pull out the base stats, so that probably saves him overall. But if you've got other options there that can put out a bigger score, I probably would go that way.
100%. He's back to the bench as well. So, But other than that, bro, let's roll into your team and have a look at it.
All right, moving over to my team. Before we jump in as well, I do want to just show out 20,000th right now in Supercoach. So I am going up 9,000 spots. Looking at other content creators out there as well. Seem to be in that 10,000 range and some in that like just those low thousands range. There's not too much score difference between all these guys here too. So one big score over the weekend, a 1,400, and that you're right back up in the discussion with all those guys there. So don't worry about your ranks too badly right now. That comes more so mid to late in the season as well. But this weekend we got, I've got in the fullback jersey or the flex position, I got Clint Gutherson, I got Ryan Papenhuyzen and Reece Walsh. They've been my options for the last couple of weeks. Obviously Ryan Papenhuyzen doing very well last week when I won 36. Got the captaincy looking with him at the moment. I haven't really done too much to change my captaincy roles at the moment either with Nathan Cleary there, so I will change those up. But Melbourne against the Dolphins at Suncorp, if Papenhuyzen can replicate any of that sort of game, I think I'll be jumping on that.
Yeah, I agree, brother, 100%. And the vice captain Loop is kind of out of the picture for me this week. You could whack it on Gutho tonight since he plays before Pappy, but Pappy is tomorrow night.
Yep.
But with that said, then you have the drama of who to trade in. And if your team is anything like, oh, you got Jaxon, Purdue there that you could sneak in and put captaincy on. So that's
Yep.
probably the option I would play if I was you, brother. Either Holmes or Gutho, since they're playing early.
Yeah, definitely could look at doing that as well. You know, vice captaining Papi and then putting the captaincy on someone else and then looping. Is that what you're saying?
No, vice captaining on Gutho or Holmes because they play tonight and Papi's tomorrow night. So
tomorrow night,
you're pretty limited on your options to vice captain. So you might want to do that now in case you forget, brother. In case Gutho boasts out a 150 or something.
That's a good idea because I screwed that up a couple of weeks ago and I was like, fuck, why did I change that late? You know what I mean? But we'll move on there. Over my center wings, we got Valentine Holmes, Greg Marju, Adam Dewey, and Thomas Jenkins. Obviously, I should be touching on my trades of the week as well, which I forgot to do earlier on. My trades of the week at the moment, Valentine Holmes in for Shibasaki. I got Hiroti in just because I want that cash rise. And at the moment, I missed the boat on Thomas Kant. I jumped on Dylan Egan. I just want that little bit of cash rise. And it gives me also, you know, obviously 428K from Tamale. I've get 200 or close to 200 of that back with Hiroti. I can play with that around my squad as well.
Yeah,
and at the moment.
Plus, as I've spoke to you a little bit about at work, we're not high on Stone Street at the moment. And the way that Hiroti's playing, the Sharks, I'm not saying they will. This is not news. It's just what me and Ash both have agreed that maybe Hiroti could knock Stone Street off for that spot and keep a jersey. That's what I would probably look at doing if I was the Sharks. But then Stone Street busted out a good game on the weekend. But Hiroti might be the consistent option there, or Iro might have delays. So Hiroti might be a bit more of a safe option than just a cash rise for the quick meantime.
100%. And Hiroti showed in New South Wales Cup he can play multiple different positions. He was playing fullback before getting put into that centre role when Iro did go down. So it can show that maybe he can get put on a wing role and do a job out there, and he's good enough to do so. He's been scoring fairly well, and even if he does fall out of the squad after his price rise, we could look at moving him on in weeks past, and we do get that extra 100K. So I'm not too bothered about that, and the risk of it's not too bad for me at the moment. And my place holding trade at the moment, I'm not going full-fledged into it. I'm waiting to see if Viliami Kikau is going to be playing this week. But at 523K, he started the season with a bang. I think it was a 90 and an 80 in his average. He's going to move up in some cash. Nafahu White, I think with that 37 over the weekend, his break-even is going to be around about to where he probably will lose a little bit of cash. I'm going to cash out on him at the moment and bring in Viliami Kikau to strengthen up my edge back row.
Yeah, I like that move, brother. That's my move. If as soon as I know that Kikau's playing or not playing, I'll be getting him in this week if he's playing. If not, he's definitely a must-have for me next week.
Yep, 100%. And obviously, you know, Viliami Kikau, if you're not confident in him long-term, if he gets his cash rise, gets up to that 650K range, you can move him on to players like a Brinton Nakota that is out at the 600K range as well at the moment, or, you know, other guns that we've known from the past.
100%.
All right, moving back to my center wings as well. Valentine Holmes, Greg Marju, Adam Dewey now getting the 7 jersey at the Tigers. So that's very juicy. Very excited to see how that plays out. And Thomas Jenkins in the wing role at the moment, still at the Penrith Panthers base is unbelievable. Hiroti, Toya, and Purdue on my bench. Hiroti, maybe I'm looking at him a little bit. Maybe he could be a play for Jenkins this week, but I'm waiting to see how I feel about that.
Jenkins had plenty of options of line breaks last week. He just didn't finish them. So if the Panthers click anything into gear, and he finishes a couple of those line breaks with either tries or try assists, I feel like you'll get a good base out of him. With the Sharks playing, who are they playing?
They have got the Newcastle Knights at McDonald Jones Stadium.
Their defense has been pretty solid. The Knights, you know, they're the second best defensive team in the comp, even though they're struggling attack-wise. Their defense has been pretty solid. So I think you're probably safer with Jenkins in a desperate Panthers side.
I probably will hold you to that as well. I'll probably end up playing that way, but you know, definitely keep an eye out to see how things play out over the weekend. Cam Munster and Jaden Campbell as my sixes at the moment. Jaden Campbell with an 83 over the weekend, which is a good little score, which I like that from him. Not that 50 score that he got last week when I first brought him in. I was a little bit worried about that and going, did I just miss the boat here? But he ended up getting back up to 83. Nathan Cleary and Nico Hines are my halves as well. Both these guys, notable guns that we know from the past. They're not firing at the moment, but just holding trust in these boys that will turn it around because they have been the best halfbacks in Supercoach for a long period of time now.
Yeah, I've seen the question before as who's the must-have halves, and well, normally it'd be just these two, set and forget. Maybe throw in a Mitch Moses or DCE if you wanted to spice it up. But outside of those four, everyone's too hit and miss. But this year, well, these guys are struggling. 5'8" options aren't much better. Jaden Campbell's been a bit of a shining light, but other than that,
Yep.
Munster's been pretty good. Galvin was doing all right, but
Yep.
yeah, so it's tough. Halves are tough this year. It really is. So they're not averaging you your 80. You know, you'd set 4 good halves and you'd hope to get at least 80 out of all of them, but that's not happening.
100%, bro. Moving over to my edge back rows here, we got Olakau'atu, Horsburgh, and at the moment, Viliami Kikau. I like the look of that edge back row, especially if Kikau does play, but obviously that will change around if Viliami does not play. I'll bring in Wong. He'll probably go to the edge back row there, or maybe Nafahu, depending on how I feel in that game there too. So, hopefully Viliami does play because I think it does look a lot better with Kikau there in that role there too, right?
Yeah, especially the cash you're going to make from him, brother. I'm really high on that move.
Yep. 100%. Me too, bro. Dylan Egan and that on my bench. Still Wong, who's been very, very good for me to start this year. 562k. He'll become a point where I do move him on by the looks of it. But been a very solid member of the side for the time being. Moving over to the front row as well. Payne Haas, Terrell May. They're set and forgets for the season at the moment. And Tino Faisal Malawi as well coming back after. Well, he does not come back this week for his suspension. So I need to take the reserve off of him.
No, he's back, bro.
Is he?
Yeah. Only 1 week.
I thought it was 2. I thought it was 2.
Bro. He's back.
Beautiful, beautiful. We'll keep the reserve on him because I will not want to mess that up again either. And Harry Grant in hooker jersey as well. He's been very consistent for me. More so lately, to start the season, didn't really fire. Now he's holding around those 70-point averages. So that's exactly where I wanted to be at the moment. So one of your best hooker options. Sandon Smith just stays to my side at the moment. Just slowly continue to build a little cash in that corner there.
Yeah, but even in previous seasons, Harry Grant scoring a try, you would expect 90 plus. It's just not firing as well for Harry Grant this year either. Like, nice little 76 there. It's not bad, but yeah, when you used to see Harry Grant score a try last year, it was 90, hundreds. So something's going on.
100%, 100%. Definitely hope that that more of that comes into the future, and not more of those. I'm pretty sure he was scoring like 50s, and that 26 against the Panthers early on is just not himself. So definitely needs to change that around. And also the question here with Blaze with how many boosts I've got left. Top corner here, I've got 1 boost left. Obviously, I'll use the boost this weekend, so it leaves me with 1. That one I'll probably try and hold till around later on in the period because I'm pretty happy with all the boosts I've been using at the moment to settle my squad. But yeah, I'm holding on to 1 boost and 31 trades at the moment in my squad.
Yep, and a nice 95k sitting there left over.
100%. So hopefully that continues to clicking over for me.
That continues to continue.
That continues to continue, brother. I think that should be put on a shirt. Fucking oath. All right, moving over to your squad of this weekend, bro, and your trades. If the internet will not fail me now, please do not fail me. It's taken me forever. Any other questions that's jumping up in the chat at the moment?
I don't know, but my stress levels at Supercoach this week are fucked.
It's horrendous at the moment, right?
Just such a down week. My ranking's going to drop a lot. I was sitting pretty second in the Wires Up TV Super Chat, Supercoach league last week. And now I think, God, I don't even want to know. I haven't checked, but I know I dropped a long way down to down unders. So
it's all right, brother. You'll continue to move up those ranks in the future. 22,000 you are currently right now. 8,000 ranks down after the weekend. That score definitely... as we said before, Clint Gutherson, if he fires, you would have been upper ranks. He doesn't fire, unfortunately. It is what it is. Team value still fairly good there, the 13,999. I think I was at the 14,000 mark at the moment, so we're holding very similar, which is good for more of your cash gen and who you can bring in later on.
Yeah.
All right, your trades of the week at the moment. Brodie is trading. He's bringing in Ryan Papenhuyzen. You cannot sit away from Ryan Papenhuyzen, can you? Actually, I'll let you take over for this. What's your thoughts around your trades?
Like I said, I missed the boat a little bit on Pappy. In the moment, Ponga was still playing all right, and I didn't quite have the cash for Pappy yet, and I fucked up. So here we are. I'm gonna grab him before he goes up in price again after that 136. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the point of my trade there. Case McLean done a job for me now. He's at a nice 530 after making me, I don't know, 200 plus K. And I'm gonna bring in Hiroti just for that quick cash grab and to free me up the money for that big trade there at the top there. Jermaine Asako out for Jacob Carraz. This trade I will be reversing if William Army Kickout is playing. If William Army Kickout is playing, I'll probably leave McLean in my team, trade out Asako and bring in Kickout for Paddy Carrigan.
Yep. I love it. I love it. Definitely all good moves. Obviously, if that does not happen, Jacob Carraz is both highly on our list for trade-ins in the week's future. So I'm going to have to do a little bit more moving in weeks to come to get him in. But if you are able to get him in straight away, I think that's a really good option as well.
Yeah, if he's not in this week, he's in next week. And same for Kickout. If he's not in this week, he's in next week. So that's my swing. So they're the two doggies that I'm targeting. Because I can hold off a week on Jacob Carraz, knowing that he's only played one game so far. So, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Incredible base stat monster. Moving over to your side as well, Clint Gutherson, Ryan Papenhuyzen, and Reece Walsh, very similar to what we have here. And you went with that Clint Gutherson and Ryan Papenhuyzen captain, vice captain option there?
Yeah, just in case. I don't think I'll vice captain Loop. I've got nobody that's not playing. So even if Gutho scored well, I've got nobody to whack my captaincy on anyway. The only thing that I might be able to do if Gutho like absolutely brains it tonight is trade out Hiroti for like a Billy Smith and then put captaincy on him. So I've got that up my sleeve as well. If Gutho, for whatever reason, scores 130, I don't think I'll be able to pass that up as a captaincy option. So I'll make it happen.
I do like that. I do like that. Moving to your center wings as well. Jacob Carraz, Shibasaki, Marju, Jenkins, all got very good base. And then Tamale, Toya, and Hiroti sitting on your bench. Hiroti with the reserve this week.
Yeah, Shibasaki's in my sights to trade out. That'll be a next week thing, hopefully for a Dylan Lucas or a Billy Smith. So my thoughts quickly on Billy Smith, Jose, is he is a must-have at this stage. He's proven to be a Supercoach beast. Every game he's probably played since he's been back this season, well, even in previous seasons, he always scores really well on Supercoach. It's just the consistency around injuries. And at the price he's at is nice.
Yeah, and he got no love for Garrick here. Nah, but I got burnt by Garrick. Me trading him out, and I'm just sitting stern. I'm just like, he's not coming back into my side because he burnt me in that one moment.
Yeah, it's hit and miss, Garrick. If he was on the wing, I'd probably pick him up a lot more than he is in the center. But I don't know. I'm just hesitant in the centers. He can produce you a really good score, as we've seen, but there's other times where it's not on.
Yeah, 100%. Also, Wolfie saying here, you could Luke Galvin this week, bro. The option with that, bro, in my opinion, this is probably what I think over Brody, but if he was to do that with Galvin, he'll be losing Cam Munster's score over the weekend because that's the only way he'll be able to do that, subbing in with Cam Munster. So unless
take Hiroti off. Yeah, actually.
Hiroti reserve, you could do that. Yeah, that's probably not.
Shout out, Wolfie. I didn't even think of that.
There you go. Just saved your trade.
Yeah, well, I'm high on Billy Smith anyway, but it's taking the gamble that the motherfucker doesn't get injured at training or something. Like, can you imagine that? Trading him in, burn a trade, gets injured. Fuck's sake. It's just Billy Smith that he'll do that.
I was going to give you the question of like, thoughts. Well, obviously Jose here, thoughts on Billy Smith. Like, would you go early on Billy Smith this week? Because we did discuss this at work. There is that little bit of a risk of Mark Nwangani-Tuase probably getting back that role as well, which I don't think is a risk, but that's still up in the air, whatever happens there too.
Well, Mark will get it, but I think Toya will drop out.
Okay.
But yeah, it's unknown. I guess if you've got no other trades you want to make for the week, make it now. But I wouldn't be using either a boost or wasting an opportunity for another trade. So I had 3 other trades I wanted to make that I could have done without Billy Smith this week. But if you've got no trades and you're happy with your team and you just want to make that one change, you could risk it this week, but why not wait? There's no harm in waiting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Like Billy Smith will more than likely be in our side if he is named and ready to go next week. No injuries, as Brody said. Touch wood to this brother because this bro, Billy Smith, can find an injury. We all know that. And if you
100%.
go early on that, that's just burning a trade for no reason. So maybe just wait off. He's going to be there. He's going to be scoring well. And I think he's definitely all in our eyesights for the future as well, because he could be a really good long-term play. But injuries is really the issue there.
Big risk. And just before in the chat, while we're going through the team really quick, thoughts on Karaz as a new guy? Well, my confidence in Karaz is I almost put vice captaincy on him this week because I think we're in for a 100-plus game. His base stats alone are killer, and I see him being very heavily involved in scoring options. So I reckon he'll score a try this week, and he'll get that 90-plus.
He's obviously scored 61 against Newcastle, and in that game, it was pretty much all base.
It was all based.
He didn't score a try. He didn't get that. Obviously, shouldn't have been a try assist if he batted it back. He batted the ball down for Curran to score over. So there's no try assist there or anything like that. If anyone thought there could have been, right? He didn't get that. The 61, all base, like that's the monster that we have here. And if he end up scoring in that game, we're looking upwards of 80s and to 100s range.
100%. 100%.
Moving over to, and also, I also do want to point out, more than likely with Karaz, if he's going to score tries, he's probably going to get tackle breaks and line breaks because the doggy system, the way they attack, he's probably going to end up breaking a line or something like that to end up getting his tries, more than finding a lot of open space and just sprinting down the end of the field. So shout out to Jacob Karaz. Your 5'8", obviously Cam Munster, and the big man of the hour, Lockie Galvin. So you're keeping him inside at the moment, bro. You did speak about it a little bit before with your trades, but you're holding and just seeing the lay of the land.
Yeah. My original thought was I don't have anybody in that 5'8" position I want to trade in now. It's not like a must-have. It's not like I haven't got guys that I can select 4 reserve spots on. It's not like Munster's on the buy or anything like that. So I'm happy to leave him there for now. After a few of the interviews I've seen today as well, it's all starting to calm down that little bit. And it would not surprise me if we see Lockie Galvin back in the Tigers in 2 weeks. I don't think it will happen, but it might. They're professionals at the end of the day, and it will all could get sorted out tomorrow. But if it doesn't, I've got eyes on Dylan Brown. I've also got eyes on either Jerome Luai to see what role he takes up now at the Tigers and how his points and scoring goes up. Or Cody Walker's dropping to a nice little price. The Rabbits have the Doggies, then Melbourne, and then I might pick him up after that.
He could be really, really cheap at that point too, depending on how they go.
We've known Cody Walker to be a Supercoach gun in previous years as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And also, I also want to touch on, did you see the press conferences between, Luai? Shout out to all those guys in that press conferences because they held themselves with absolute class. Like the way Luai was shooting at questions and the amount of, I wouldn't say dumb questions, but bait questions that he got within all that. Just the way he answered, and same with Api Coruscant, amazing job. And then Benji's one, I just sat back and just Benji, just holds himself with complete class. He understands where he sits in the game, and he's got full confidence in his ability. I love that how all of them handled that whole situation because, man, the media were out for a media story too with the way that they were trying to feed on
100%.
Luai's situation with the Panthers, Tino's, Sunny Taruva's situation as well. Well done to all those boys.
Yeah, 100%, brother. And that's what made me think that there's still maybe an opening for Galvin to come back in, especially if we see the Tigers drop off the pace a little bit the next 2 weeks. You could see him potentially play out the rest of at least this year in a Tigers jersey, but time will tell.
100%. And honestly, Luai is paying for himself in so many different ways. Just as him as a leader, the way he was talking about the team, it just shows of how he's gotten to this point in footy. So shout out to him as well. I do want to touch on that with Lockie Galvin and all that news at the moment. Your halves, Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines. We spoke about that before. Set and forget at the moment until they really drop off. Yeah, just fire, please. Second row, Tino Falasul Malawi, Paddy Carrigan, Matty Nicholson this weekend, Kant, Hubner, and Egan sitting on your bench. Good little options there.
Yeah, 3 money makers on the bench and 3-point goers in the run on. As I touched on, Paddy's everything's fine with Paddy, but I want to start looking to upgrade him to more of a try scoring threat on my back rower, which is a Viliami Kikau, Dylan Lucas type. So he's served his purpose for me. He's dropped a little bit in cash, but he's still scored very well. So if Kikau plays, here's my trade to get Kikau in. I'm
going to go early on this because I do think it will be a question. We're seeing Matty Nicholson in your squad. seeing Zach Hosking back on the bench, do you think that drops his minutes in any sort of way with that rotation? Or do you think that I've heard rumors that Zach Hosking might play through the middle as well?
The performances Nicholson's dishing out, I'm not worried about him losing his spot unless an injury comes up, or even I'm not even worried about him losing minutes because he's playing 80 and it's 80 quality minutes right now. So whereas like Big Red and Tarpany, they're still doing their usual maybe 50, 60 minutes. So I dare say Hosking will come through the middle because they only got Papali on the bench and then one other forward because they run the two hookers. So I don't think his minutes will be hindered and I don't think he'll lose his spot. So
beautiful. I love it. I love it. Moving on to the front row, we discussed on all these boys before. Payne Haas, Terrell May, Corey Horsburgh, who was in my squad in second row. Dimitri Vaimwanga, he's finally making a little bit of cash, which is great to see.
Yeah, and his minutes will probably go up now as well with James Fisher-Harris out and a couple other injuries you boys are dealing with.
100%, bro. And your hookers there, Blake Brayley, been the guy you had since the start of the season. He got a 65 at the weekend. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, definitely, brother. He's hammered a cash a little bit, but that's all right because I'm probably going to set and forget him until Harry Grant's done with Origin. So not too worried there. All hookers are scoring roughly the same. And unless you were lucky to be on the Rabbits hooker when he got 100 there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Any other big options that you would be looking at trading in late or moving in late? Is there any people you're pushing out? Yeah, like maybe reserves you're pushing out or anything?
Nah, this is pretty much it other than the Kickout one. And as I said, if Kickout's not in this week, he's in next week. And then Karaz will just be next week if Kickout's in this week. And then, a couple other trades I'm looking at already for next week. And then a couple of guys I'm keeping my eye on is, Cody Walker, Dylan Brown, Campbell Graham back on the Rabbits wing as well. So normally a good Supercoach scorer there. Nice little price at the moment. David Fafita's on the back burner. So
that's something actually I did want to touch on as well. Dave Fafita, obviously picking up a hamstring injury, guys. So anyone that didn't know about that, I'm pretty sure it was a hamstring injury, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, came out with strain, not dangerous or bad though, but he's still hesitant and he's not playing this week. So
yeah, not what you want. I almost had him in my side in my trades for this week. I was like really excited to see him back in there and actually increasing his minutes over time. Now it worries me also. Just I think I might give him a couple of more weeks when he does come back and just see how his minutes go back to because I think to start the season we probably did notice that he came in underdone. He looked like he was definitely not fit to start the season when he was playing off of the bench. Hasler's now put him into those longer minute roles. With this setback, he might ease him back in a little bit again. So there's that risk still over his head.
Yeah, exactly. And then you got Origin lurking as well that you got to think of if he gets back in.
Yeah, and the way that Origin chat went last year with Billy Slater on that, whether he is just going to be like, hey, I just got to put him in now. People were just coming from my head last year, and it was definitely one of the big talking points to Dave Fafita and Billy Slater. Talking about Origin though, Jose in the chat, when are you guys planning for your trades in Origin? What are you thinking, my bro?
You always kind of keep it in the back of your mind. It really depends on the draw. So it depends on what guys are playing anyway during the Origin period where they will be missed from their team. And then it will also depend on who else you've got to cover. So if you've only got like 2 or 3 Origin players, I wouldn't worry too much about trading them out. But if you're carrying about 6 or 7, then it's probably worth looking at trading a couple of those guys out and just running still pretty stacked. But remember, it is only the top 13, so you only need 13 guys to score.
Yeah, Supercoach made it a little bit easier for Supercoach for point scorers coming into that weekend, or especially with State of Origin, where in years past they made it really tough, where you had to really kind of pick and who was going to bounce back after the weekend, stuff like that. Now Supercoach said obviously it's the top 13 scorers, so you've got a lot of options you can play with. You can have keep Payne Haas and that in your lineup, and then have your reserves probably pick up their points there as well. So. For me, if I was ever looking at it, I'd probably go a couple of weeks out. So maybe just after Magic round 10, 11, 12 is probably where you want to look at it. Because I'm pretty sure Origin strikes us around after round 12. I think the first one's the 28th of May. I think the first game.
Yeah.
I'll just look it up now. Yeah, 28th of May is the game one.
And it's important to, really check out the draw. So see who's going to be missing before, who is on the early games to potentially not back up if you've got guys like that. So a lot goes into thinking about it. So, but if you've got 13 that you're pretty confident will get you a good score, then just stick with the 13 and don't worry too much about trading out around Origin.
100%. And back to Jose, he had a little question or a statement before. I'm thinking of selling Big Red for Joey Taps next week. Thoughts? This could also be a good little play moving into Origin as well, because Joey Tarpanay will play obviously week in, week out there. I'm pretty sure the Raiders don't have a buy in that period. But your thoughts on that trade just yet?
Yeah, I think that's a good trade. Yeah, Joey Tarps is pretty solid. He's probably a bigger scorer than Horsburgh, and probably safe around Origin because Big Red potentially is in that Origin mix as well. But he's a big jump in price. So depends on what you have to free up to get him.
Yeah, and the Raiders do play after that first Origin, so they don't have any buys around that Origin either. Yeah, they play both before and after, so they're not worried about that first Origin. That's a really good play for both those weeks, especially around camp. The other guy I'm looking at, obviously Adam Fanor-Blake can be an option there too. He doesn't play Origin. Joey Taps would be at a higher price, so if you didn't have the money to get to him, Adam Fanor-Blake's at like 650k at the moment, so there's an option there too. But just continue to play as is at the moment until probably that round 10 mark, and that's when I start looking at my trades.
Yeah, but you don't move heaven and earth to do it either.
Nah, not these days, bro. I think as I kind of said before, Supercoach has made it a little bit easier on people with that, especially, around head knocks, your state of origin, what they've been doing with the flex position. It's been a lot better playing Supercoach in that sort of aspect than it has been in years past.
And so it should, because it is really a 6-week impact before, after, on 3 games. Like, it can be very annoying to deal with.
100%, bro. 100%. Any more questions, guys? Chuck them up in the chat. We'll definitely bounce around to your questions at the moment. While we do that, bro, we're touching before the show. We're going to be touching on the matchups of the week that we have, and especially the matchup of tonight. We got Lehigh Hopewade versus Clint Gufferson, and we also got Ruben Garrick versus Valentine Holmes in Supercoach scores, bro. So how do you want to play this one out?
Or let's go with a 2v2. So who's going to score more? You got a goal kicker in both, and you got a gun fullback in both. So throw up in the chat here who you think will score more. Will it be Gutherson and Holmes, or will it be Hopewade and Garrick? And what scores are you guys thinking? And we will touch on Volkanovski once we finish with this.
I thought we were going to touch on it more last night. I thought we were going to touch on it more last night with Volkanovski. I was like, I should have started the show about shout out to Volkanovski, but I missed the trick there.
That's all good. But yeah, that's how we'll work it. So I reckon Gutho and Holmes will score more. I'm leaning towards I leaned towards a Manly win last night, but I think these two will score more. I think Gutho's got more of a try assist in him than Lehigh. Lehigh's more base. And then Holmes and Garrick are very similar in their scoring. So I'm going to give the nod to the Dragons duo, and I'm going to say that they will score 160 between them, and I reckon the Manly boys will get 130 between them.
Okay. You know what? Just to play devil's advocate, and because I want to, and I love doing this as well, I'm going to jump on the Manly Seagulls side of things. I think Manly at 4 points. I'm going to play more of the NRL-based sort of position instead of just looking at Supercoach as well, and hoping that feeds into Supercoach. I think Manly should be able to put a decent scoreline on the Dragons at 4 points. They love playing at 4 points. They've got some points in them. Lehigh Hopewade is just the one that, for me, out of those 4 that we have, that worries me. He's not notably goes big on Supercoach, but I think Ruben Garrick can go big in this one if we end up scoring a lot of points. So I'm going to go Ruben Garrick, and I'm going to take him over that 130 range. And I think that with Manly putting a lot of points on the Dragons, maybe downgrades a lot of the opportunities for Gufferson. He probably gets another 50 this week. That's worst case scenario. I don't want that to happen. And Valentine Holmes, who I traded as well. But I'm going to play devil's advocate just to see what we come out with next weekend.
Because it's a good matchup as well. They're on the same side of the field, Garrick and Holmes. So the other will really be limiting the other one as well. So very, very interesting matchup, actually. Yeah, okay. I like it. What score line are you thinking that the Manly boys are going to put together?
I think that as a collective, Lehigh will probably get I'm going to go with him to get a high score of like a 70 and 80, which is his top end more than likely. And I think if Garrick can really put it all together, I reckon Garrick can go to 115. So I'm going to go 190 if he has that high upside for it.
So you're tipping a Manly big win?
I am tipping a Manly big win.
I think you're going to be rudely disappointed, brother.
I think I might be, and I'm hoping I am, because I got Gutho and Valentine Holmes in my super coach.
What are you doing?
I wanted to play devil's advocate so we can come next weekend and talk about it.
You just want to win-win. You'll just be like, nah, I got a good super coach score.
Shout out to the fence sitters. Shout out to the fence sitters out there.
Bloody Warriors.
Don't bring it back on my Warriors, boys. But I'm also curious to see how the Dragons attack Manly coming into this weekend. You know, it's looking at last week and how they were playing that tunnel ball option and cutting out, you know, face balling Clint Gutherson. Do they run with that again, or do they switch it up this weekend? Gutho gets majority of the touches.
I think we'll see a bit more of it again because DC loves to shoot. So he's going to get caught out, and it's going to be a face ball to a Holmes. So,
yep,
interesting. We'll see.
That's a pretty good option because I knowing how Jason Saab likes to defend as well, he loves to feed for that intercepts, so he can find himself in no man's land. If they hit short on Valentine, there should be a gap in between him and Ruben Garrick, and Ruben's not notably a great defender either. So
no, that's exactly right.
And that's why your Dragons call might be the winner there, right?
I think so.
All right, guys, what else we got here? I traded in Lehigh out, so Dragons 150 if I'm Jose.
I like it.
Do we want to wax lyrical about Volkanovski while we have the time?
Yeah, brother. Did you get a chance to watch the fight?
I did. You know, obviously a couple of days off to start the year, start the week with a couple of personal issues going on. I ended up getting to sit down to watch the fight one of those mornings, and man, what a performance! Like, I spoke to obviously Rob at work, you know, one of the boys that loves his UFC as well, with our boys, and he was like, oh, you know, Lopez, you know, up and comer, and I was like the same. It's like, we all love Lopez. I think he's an incredible fighter, and I think he took a lot of pride out of performance as well. You know, he competed with one of the best in the world, if not, you know, we all know him as probably one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world at the moment.
100%.
So, clinical, the way he was, what I loved about his performance is he picked on a lot of Lopez's tells. So Lopez off of a straight or an overhand, he dips his head on the inside, which notably for a lot of fighters do this when they're at the professional level. You know, when you learn early days, you learn that you shouldn't be dipping your head on the inside of the straight because obviously there's a lot more options that come from if you dip your head on the inside. You want to dip it on the outside. But what I noticed that Volk was doing, he was hitting those feints, is what those city kickboxing boys do, and obviously he's got a close connection with those boys, and he does a lot of good tape. He threw the straight, he was throwing the straight and getting him to dip his head on the inside, and then he would throw the combination of looking like he's going to throw a straight, come up with the uppercut, and finish with the hook, and that was his best combo in the fight. I absolutely loved how he was doing that. I also noticed that with his steps, he was trying to like move him on one way, so he would sweep him to go towards the fence, and then the way he feathered him back into the center of the ring. I just loved his footwork and the way he kind of sets up all his actions. But shout out to Lopez as well. Man, he's a motherfucker, and he caught Volk fairly well in that second round, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
Busted up his eye pretty good. But your thoughts on Volkanovski's performance, because I know you watched it live and you're keeping in touch with me. Your thoughts round and round out.
Yeah, look, almost vintage Volk. Yeah, still looks fast as ever at 36. So shout out to him for breaking that record there, breaking the Drake curse, and also breaking the curse of coming off 2 knockouts and winning a title. So a lot of records there. But yeah, outstanding performance. He's such a high IQ fighter, and that really speaks highly of Lopez as well, because, you know, we've seen Max Holloway fight Volk 3 times and he didn't get to rock him the way he did. So I know he's got a lot of power, and he's still so young in the game. He's only been in the game for 19 months of the UFC. So it broke my heart to see Lopez in the room afterwards, and the way he was breaking down in the dressing room at the back, and even during the decision, he was shaking. So you really feel for the kid. I hope that he goes away, has a couple of fights, Volk retires nicely without losing again. And then Lopez gets another shot against somebody up and coming and can claim that title, because he does deserve it. But yeah, Volk, man, we'll praise him a lot more here. Outstanding. What he did to prepare for this fight, the mental battles he would have had to fight to get over the 2 knockouts, all the media, and to come out and to deliver a performance like that. absolutely outstanding. I think he tripled Lopez's strike count. The way he used his leg, the leg kick as well, absolutely beautiful. And to step in and looking to sweep by putting that lead leg behind Lopez's back. So when he hit it straight, you also got that threat of that takedown there. So yeah, outstanding. And Lopez is such a physical beast as well. Like he's tall, he's long. But yeah, Volk just counteracted all of that by putting his head on his chest and really timing that counter that he does so well. So yeah, outstanding. That's all we can say, Jose. Absolutely outstanding.
And we'll quickly, I know it's Supercoach show and all that, but we're on UFC now. But I want to get your thoughts too. Paddy Pimblett getting his big performance over the weekend over, Michael Chandler. Incredible performance, looked incredible as well. Michael Chandler did have slight moments in that, but majority it was all Paddy. It was all Paddy.
He had no moments, brother. Like he had the takedown and he had like some I don't know, ground rape, you'll call it. I don't know if you can say that on YouTube, but just where he was burning himself out for nothing, like just dragging Paddy on the ground. Like he didn't benefit from that at all, except for gassing his arms out a little bit. He nearly locked up the choke, and that's about it. But we've seen Chandler have moments where he could have won the fight against everybody else he's fought, like your Dustins, your Justins, Oliveira. Paddy eliminated all of that, bro. He made it look so easy against Michael Chandler. It was actually scary because, I like Paddy's fight style. I think he's cool. He's entertaining, but I never seen him with a threat to be able to do that. And he came out and he looked vicious, and it made me think that he is a top 5 and deserves to be in that top 5.
Yeah, I was like, I was surprised at that sort of angle as well. Like, I heard, who did I hear someone come out and said, like, after the performance that he had with Jared Gordon, everyone was kind of looking and going like, is he ready yet? And like, Michael Chandler being the more experienced fighter coming to this fight, he had moments, but that was the best Paddy Pimblett I've seen 100%. For a bit. That knee he got to end up, changing this fight too as well. Well, not changing the fight, but, pretty much the beginning of the end, straight up the middle. Michael Chandler's susceptible to that. Michael Chandler's game is starting to be picked apart a little bit more now the longer he's going into his fighting. Like the way he kind of tries to round off, he kind of gets himself stuck in the fence a lot of times. Like, he doesn't really have a really good like cutting angles type of game. He just is in and out. He's very direct. And Paddy just used that to his advantage. And his long limbs, bro. Shout out to Paddy, because as you said before, that's a massive step up in competition, and he did it with flying colors, and very excited to see what more he can actually produce in that division.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to a fight with him and maybe Charles Oliveira. That'll be gangster.
I do think, it's got to be baby steps over time still, like Charles Oliveira and that. Like when we're going up against like, Islams and stuff that are looking upwards as well.
No,
just not ready yet. Not right now, no. But very good performance, and he's on the right track to become like, one of the better fighters. Well, he is right now one of the better fighters in the lightweight division.
100%, brother.
Jet Wood, we did touch on our trades a little bit early on in the show, but just quickly, just for you, brother, just because I guess I like you, and you got a beautiful little puppy in your image there. Valentine Holmes is in for me from Shibasaki. Hirotti's in for me for Tamale, and Viliami Kickout currently is a placeholder in. He might be in, he might be out, depending on if he plays, for Nafahu White. But what's yours, Brody?
Mine was Jermaine Asako out for Hirotti, Casey McLean out for Karaz, and Kalen Ponga out for Ryan Papenhuyzen. Again, I'm with Ash. He's stealing it from me, guys. We're waiting to see if Kickow is in. If Kickow is in, I'll be trading out Paddy for Kickow, and then Karaz next week.
I'll be completely honest, guys. Like I was all on Fafita's train until the injury, and legit about half an hour before the show, bro. I was just like scrambling around,
20 minutes
fuck.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh, it was like, and then I was like, Brody's been saying Viliami kick out for the last couple of weeks. I'll check him out. Yeah, all right, I like it enough. Let's go. Let's ride the train.
100%. And I'm going to steal the Lucas shout from you because you picked that one at the start of the year. So
beautiful. We help each other. We always do. And we help everyone else there in the chat. So I think that'll be us for tonight, guys. Hope you enjoy your super coach for the weekend. Anything more you want to touch on before we leave?
Nah, brother. Nah. Enjoy your Easter break, everybody.
Exactly.
By all means, post up. And we'll see you guys next week. See if we all had a better week this week.
100%. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Happy Easter from all of us. Up the was.
Enjoy your break. Go the doggies.